everyone. Nicole Russo in Kentucky and Dan Illman in New York coming to you for this edition of the Oaks Countdown to recap a busy spate of prep action that kicked off July. Let's take a look at our current points list toward a spot in the 14-horse starting gate for the Oaks on September 4th, starting to get closer. Swiss Skydiver still the leader after her fine runner-up effort against the boys in the Bluegrass. The 40 points she earned there can count toward either the Derby or the Oaks. Trainer Ken McPeak has all but confirmed that she'll target the Oaks. And Dan, before we get to some of her compatriots here, I thought she really lost nothing in defeat in the Bluegrass.
It was one of her finest performances, in my opinion, Nicole. It was such a gallant effort. She took the race to the boys from the start, and it took a very nice colt, one of the now horses in this division, Art Collector, to run her down in the final 16th of a mile. She was well clear of the rest of the field. She earned a very fast Beyer speed figure. You are absolutely right. She lost nothing in defeat. She retains her spot number one on this list, and in my opinion, slightly over Gamine as the best 3-year-old filly in the country.
Yeah, and certainly we'll talk about this as we get closer to the Oaks, but I think her edge over Gamine is that, she's proven that she really thrives in these two-turn races. But while Swiss Skydiver was running against the boys at Keeneland, there were two prep races offering points toward the Oaks here in Lexington. And one of those, another one-turn filly perhaps, the well-bred Four Graces, scored her second straight graded victory at 7 furlongs in the Beaumont. You see her down there inching her way onto the points list, but Ian Wilkes indicated that she's likely to remain around one turn through the summer, targeting races like the Test at Saratoga. The big mover on the leaderboard is Speech, who made a statement with a 3-length victory in the Ashland, which we'll watch in a moment, finally breaking through with her big win after runner-up efforts in her 3 prior outings to Donna Veloce, Gamine, and Swiss Skydiver. Just a filly who runs her race every time.
Wonderful tactical speed by Speech. You can place her anywhere according to how the pace develops, and you're absolutely right. If ever a filly deserved a major victory, it was Speech. After chasing those 3 extremely talented leaders of this division, she earned a fast number for that race, and I think that Speech is right on the cusp of the major contenders leading into the Kentucky Oaks. That is exactly what the connections wanted to see with that Grade 1 victory. As for Venetian Harbor, the runner-up, I wonder if you agree with me on this, Nicole. If she was ever going to win a race, a major race at a distance over a mile, I think it was supposed to be there, where she was the main speed and you have the short stretch at Keeneland to work with, and she just couldn't get it done. I hope they cut her back in distance. I don't see her at 9 furlongs, but I think she could be a very good 7 furlong to a mile horse.
I very much agree on Venetian Harbor. She's a marvelously talented filly. I thought she dug in nicely when Speech came to her. But yeah, she sort of did get things her own way on the lead there. And if ever she were going to win a Grade 1 around 2 turns, I think that was set up for her as the lone speed in the race. It'll be interesting to see which route they take with her going forward.
Yeah, they could always turn her back, and I would think a race like the Test would fit her to a T, turning her back to 7 furlongs with her natural speed. Okay, she might be facing some stellar horses like Four Graces and Gamine, but she's very talented, as you mentioned. I'm just not sure a 1 1/8 miles is within her scope right now. It'll be very interesting to see what they do with her.
Yeah. Well, Keeneland wasn't the only place that prep action was going on over the past week. I do want to touch on She Dares the Devil, who, like Swiss Skydiver, is from the first crop of Daredevil. She scored this nice win in the Indiana Oaks. And now She Dares the Devil is maybe a cut below the top fillies in this group, but she's another one who's very consistent. She runs a good race every time. And I like the way they're building her up. After a very nice winner at Oaklawn, they let her get her confidence up a little, I think, with a good allowance win at Churchill Downs with some nice fillies in the field. And then she came back to score another graded win in the Indiana Oaks around 2 turns here.
Well, you described her perfectly. She is nothing if not consistent, and she handles the two turns. And I like that they're building her confidence in races like the Indiana Oaks. We saw her victory in the Honeybee. She is very solid. Now, what might be working against her is she is catching a crop of 3-year-old fillies that are above par, in my opinion. She is a little bit slow on the Beyer speed figures, but she is handled by a top horseman. She handles two turns, as we've seen. I agree with you. I think she's a cut below the leading lights of this division, but there is plenty of opportunities for her the rest of this year to get a lot more black type and make a lot more money.
Yeah. Well, looking ahead at some of the opportunities coming up for this division, there are only 4 points races left on this long road toward the Oaks. Kind of hard to believe. The big 2 races in that series coming up at Saratoga, the Coaching Club American Oaks, where we expect to see tonalist Shape, who passed on the Ashland in favor of that spot. The Alabama next month, always such a good race. I do want to mention one race that is not a points race, the Grade 1 test at 7 furlongs next month at Saratoga. We do expect to see 4 Graces there, and we do expect to see Gamine, who has already kind of assured herself a spot in the Oaks by virtue of her Acorn win. Gamine cutting back to 7 furlongs to use that as her final prep toward the Kentucky Oaks, perhaps. The test could really be sort of an interesting race this year.
And every year the test is a war. It is the signature race by far for 3-year-old filly sprinters. We have seen Gamine's brilliant speed on display in one-turn races like the Acorn. We have seen 4 Grace's consistency and versatility sprinting. I think you're absolutely right. This is going to be a very, very important race for the Kentucky Oaks, especially for Gamine. If she wins this race, and we see a horse like Venetian Harbor maybe even in the test, or running or skips the Kentucky Oaks, Gamine might end up as sort of the lone speed in a race like the Kentucky Oaks. And as we've seen thus far, she's very hard to catch.
Yeah, and these races over the next month here could go a long way toward kind of solidifying the field for the Oaks, and more importantly, as we've kind of touched on here, perhaps solidifying the pace scenario for the Oaks as fillies choose one route or the other. We'll certainly keep a close eye on all of the developments here on DRFTV and DRF.com. We'll see you next time on the Oaks Countdown.